The time is just gone 17 minutes past 9 a.m. as we head towards the second half of this morning's edition of News and Views. And we are going to be focusing shortly on the South African T20 League. And this is a big talking point in South Africa. We know the auctions that were held. There was a lot of talk. There's a lot of controversy surrounding the exclusion of the South African captain, Temba Bavuma, and he is due to lead the T20 side into the World Cup that is going to be played in Australia. But also, another factor that one needs to consider is how the Indian Premier League has actually changed the way people are playing cricket right across the entire globe. And the whole question surrounding money, and we are talking about mega, super rich franchise owners, and they have now brought this tournament to South Africa. We joined on the line this morning by the former non-independent director of the Gauteng Cricket Board and also former chairperson of the Soweto Cricket Club, Gordon Templeton. Gordon, good morning to you and welcome to the show.
Mr. Wadi, thank you very much. It is my honor and privilege to be invited to be on the show. How are you?
Yes, I'm doing very well, and myself being a cricket enthusiast, and I have played a lot of cricket, so it is with much interest that I am following developments in South Africa with the new T20 league. Now, there are two issues that have been dominating the tournament, and one is the exclusion of the South African captain Temba Bavuma, and the other is the how global political dynamics seem to be playing out. And we know a country like Pakistan that have got some of the best T20 players in the world once again excluded due to political reasons and pressure that is being placed on these IPL franchise owners.
Yeah, no, it is. It is bizarre, isn't it? It is somewhat, very controversial. The first point that you mentioned is, how can a captain of a South African national team be excluded in a tournament that is taking place in his country of birth? It is strange. What message is being sent out? And it also poses the question as to exactly how was all of this constituted? Because logic would prevail that you would have certain clauses in the contract that would stipulate that your contracted South African players go first. That is the way I would have structured it, as well as ensure that the players that are about to go off to the ICC T20 World Cup are given the opportunity to showcase their worth on another global stage, and especially if it is domestic.
Well, certainly, and also I think Gordon, what it makes absolute sense is looking at how the powers that be actually dominate bodies. For example, we look at the BCCI, we know which is extremely powerful and the huge influence it has over the ICC, for example, because it is one of the biggest financial backers. 60 to 70% of the funding comes through via India, and we find exactly the same scenario playing out here, where we've got these super rich IPL franchises coming into South Africa, but again, the CSA not being or unable to actually stand up to what the demands that they are making, and not even able to negotiate in the interest of the country.
To any of those negotiations, but the glaring fact that you're pointing out is that India has become the cash cow of cricket globally. That is undeniable. How for one, all of this is allowed to happen also boggles the mind, and for the mere fact that, yes, granted, after the past 2 or 3 years, there's been a crunch financially in the sporting arena. We're also well aware that from a cricketing perspective, India has the population, and because they are cricket mad, that is exactly where the money would be generated from a eyeball perspective. Money is no longer made with bums on seats in stadia. It is made on television rights, and that's where India dominates. So, how do you navigate around all of that? One is clearly, unless you stand your ground, unless you are ethically, morally, principally, and valued, you will get pushed around by the mere use of currency. So here is where we are at the moment. Is the FA20 really going to happen? Are we going to have another scenario like we had in 2017, where the T20 globally didn't take place because of all the shenanigans that should have happened or did not happen? Are we going to find ourselves in another place where we will find that now that all of these announcements have been made, we will find ourselves in the place where retrospection will now take place, and everything that you're highlighting is now brought to the fore. I would have thought progressive thinking would have taken place and said, hold on, we know where we come from as a country. We know what has gone on in our country. We know what should not happen in our country as a result of what has happened in our country. People have been oppressed. Is this a new form of oppression? Yeah, it boggles the mind. It is, yeah.
Well, it certainly does, God. In fact, I think you make a very, very valid point. And looking at where we are is South Africa, and we know the shenanigans that have been playing out with Cricket South Africa. A lot was basically internal. It was self-inflicted. When we look at the financial situation that CSA had found itself in, and we know the reasons why this has actually happened. But again, looking at these IPL franchises taking this game right across to many other parts around the world. They've taken it to Dubai, there again, to the exclusion of Pakistani players, where the Emirates was the home of Pakistan cricket for a long time, until cricket returned back into Pakistan, bringing it to South Africa again and saying that we need to exclude Pakistani players because it's not in our interest. We're going to face a backlash from our fans back home. But what about the fans here in South Africa who want to see the best of the best? They want to see players like Babar Azam. They want to see people like Shane Shah Afridi playing on our home soil. So, the South African fans have actually been excluded from this. It is not in their interest, but more in the interest of what the fans in India are going to say.
Listen, yeah. Babar Azam set South Africa like when Pakistan toured here. He is probably one of the most exciting T20 players that is currently playing cricket in the world. So that exclusion is, almost sinful. It is mind-boggling to repeat the phrase I used earlier. It doesn't make any sense. I'm not the right person to know what the reasons are. The mere fact that it is happening, the mere fact that they have been excluded, also worries one. We also understand what had happened in Pakistan for the global stance on the exclusion of cricket there. Just like in 1969, South Africa was excluded from playing international cricket based on what was happening in our country. So, have we learned anything from that? Evidently not. Should we have learned something from it? Without a shadow of a doubt. Exclusion does not mean progress. Exclusion means regress. I now put it to you and to every other listener out there, are we going to have the SA20 repeat the ills that hampered cricket in our country, hampered cricket in Pakistan? Are we going to have SA20 now set a trend that, quite frankly, is going to take us a good decade or so back in terms of what should happen, in terms of what is right? I ponder on all of these things, and it is worrying. It is most disturbing.
Exactly. And I think at some point in time, someone needs to take a standpoint, Gordon, because last night I actually hosted a show on this particular matter, and someone made a statement talking about the CSA being captured and with the huge amount of influence that exterior or outside forces like the IPL franchise owners have to dictate terms and conditions to the likes of the CSA.
Look, yeah, all of that is playing out, and all of that will be born to bear very soon. From a factual point of view, what we are currently seeing is just merely the outline of what could possibly have been dictated to Cricket South Africa. Is it right? No. Should it happen? No. Should we have lateral thinking involved? Without a shadow of a doubt. Should we have progressive thinking involved? Yes. Should we have individuals that have the backbone to speak their mind, speak truth, and not be afraid of monetary influencing their thought process? Again, without a shadow of a doubt. What we will probably soon discover, yes, it may take time, like we don't know the full story about the T20 Global League, what we will soon discover are all these gremlins that you are alluding to. I would like to be fact. I'd like it to be transparent. I would also further endorse anybody that has any information, factual information, to bring it to the fore so the public can make informed decisions on whether they support this or not. And with that said, we can now sit back. We can only hope that there will be voices like yourselves in the media that will interrogate all of these, and the facts will be brought to the fore.
Exactly, and I just finally, this is not about the players, and players are basically caught in the middle of all these issues and all these shenanigans that are playing out in the background. And if I cite the example of the recent Asia Cup series that was played, and also prior to that, the T20 World Cup in the Emirates. And we see this relationship between the players. If we look at India and Pakistan, for example, always the biggest draw cards when the match is being played. But when one looks at the players, when one looks at the relationship that they enjoy with each other, to the extent that they're very, very supportive of each other. Virat Kohli was a clear example. He was going through a very bad patch. And when one looks at social media, look at people like Babar Azam supporting him, telling him to basically to hang in there. This is a type of relationship that the players enjoy among themselves. But sadly, they are caught in the middle of everything else that is playing out around them, Gordon.
Now, what you mentioned is so true. Just like in any employer-employee relationship, you would find that those that pay the salary dictate. Yes, it is unfortunate, but it is a fact of life. I have personal experience where on the field things are rough. Off the field, you then sit back and wonder, "Ooh, hold on. What really happened on the field?" So let's take it back to every single time India and Pakistan have been drawn in the ICC tournament, and we just go back to the recent World Cup in England. That match was sold out long before tickets were available to anybody else, because of the rivalry between these two cricket powerhouses because of the history of the sport between these two powerhouses. The players, as you correctly state, are unfortunately caught between a rock and a hard place as a result of owners wanting to dictate their political stance, their impressions, how they see things happening. And because they've got the money, it is unfortunate that the people that actually suffer not only are the players. We as spectators, you wouldn't have content now in a wadi if this didn't happen. You and I would not be in this conversation right now if all things had been fair. You and I would not be deliberating on how things should be taking place based on ethics, based on morals, based on principles, based on values, if all of this didn't happen. It is most unfortunate. It is happening. Now, what can be done? It's all good and well to highlight all the problems. What can be done? In my humble view, I'm of the opinion that should there be a protest about what is going on, should people use their power? Yeah, they may not have the monetary power, they may not have the currency, but should they use their voices against what is happening, we would probably see change. We've seen change. Yes, it's taken time in our own very beautiful country, South Africa, when individuals have taken up a principled stance against what is wrong. Should we not take a principled stance against what we clearly identify as not in the best interest of sport, not in the best interest of building humanity, not in the best interest in building what we all love?
Well, I must say, Gordon, I quite like what you said right at the end because it's in the interest of humanity. And sports has been a catalyst that have actually brought humanity together. But sadly, a lot of it, even when one looks at players retiring early with the love of the country. Or the upholding the honor of the country or playing for the country, it takes a backseat in the interest of monetary gain. And this is exactly what sport has become. It's become a multi-trillion-dollar industry right across the entire world in all codes of sports. And sadly, it has got to this. And people like yourself and myself are actually shortchanged in the process. But for now, thank you so much, Gordon, for coming on, talking to us, for unpacking what you have here on Salam Media this morning. We wish you all the best. Please take care.
Thank you, Nan. Thank you to your listeners, and thank you to the station for granting me the opportunity to share my views. I hope this is not the first or the last time that we will discuss matters cricket or matters sport.
We're definitely, Gordon. In fact, I have got you penned in permanent ink to have future discussions on some of these matters. So, but for now, please take care.
Thanks, Nan. All the best. Bye-bye.
Gordon Templeton joining us, former non-independent director of the Gauteng Cricket Board and also the former chairperson of the Soweto Cricket Club. The time is just gone, 9:36. We're going to go for a break. We come back, we'll be joined by Fatima Karim, National Events Manager at Islamic Relief South Africa.